Okay everyone, we're back with another highlights video from the FIA Manufacturers Championship driving at Catalunya in the Group 3 cars. Obviously I am in the McLaren 650 GT3 car for this race. Qualifying actually went okay. We did our laps without slipstream. First lap we did a banker lap, I think, which was the lap we're actually starting on here, I think down in P8, which was a 1 minute 42.4 I think it was. Unfortunately on our final run we was on an almost perfect lap. I think we were on for a 42.1 to 42.2. However, we absolutely bottled the final chicane, which lost me a massive chunk of time, and yeah, that obviously didn't bump me up. So we started down in P8, but I was pretty happy with that. This is slot 2 of the day. A lot of fast drivers still in this lobby. It's going to be a competitive one, and it was a really enjoyable race. One of my favourite races in a while, this race. We had to use the soft and medium tyres in this race, and it was a 20 lap race, so quite a long race to, it's longer than our normal FIA distance, so it's going to be an enjoyable one. We're going straight to that -4 brake bias, a brake bias I find is really good for the McLaren GT3 car. -5 tends to cause a bit of an issue when you're going into corners with the front tyres, so I find -4 is that little bit of compromise. It helps you look after the rear tyres, which is going to be essential for this track. It really is aggressive on them rear tyres. It's also a little bit aggressive on the front, but in the MR cars like the McLaren, you really do need to be looking after them rear tyres. So starting this race in P8, following the slipstream train as everyone does, going into turn 1, and you can see in P1 there, Nick up in the Aston Martin Vantage, everyone warming their tyres up in front. I didn't feel the need to warm them up massively, although getting into the braking zone, I'm starting to think maybe we should. You see how we get a little bit of understeer there, didn't really get the braking done. We got Quentin right behind us. He's going to try and hang that round the outside, although I was pretty confident that the McLaren has got the ability to carry the speed through that corner a little bit better than the Viper. So yeah, we managed to hold that one off. No real issue there, into the braking zone, trying to make sure we do not hit the Subaru. At this point, we want to make sure that the car in front of us stays in the slipstream train that's ahead of him. We don't want to lose the slipstream from the cars ahead, although the pace in the McLaren here for myself was actually pretty good. I had pretty good pace here. With the first race, we did a really entertaining race as well. Enjoyed that race. I think we came home in P7 or 8 in that one. We had a good race with WDP right at the end. Some good clean defending and racing to the finishing line. This race though, we're starting in P8, a little bit further up than where we started in the slot 1 of the day, so trying to see if we can get a good result from this, as we see following that slipstream, going into the braking zone, trying to just keep it nice and smooth. You'll notice how I'm trying to be gentle on the throttle. You see that 50% throttle inputs, and then once the grip's there, going up to 100%, because we're trying to look after them rear tyres for this race. It's very important. All the MR cars, I think bar the Porsche, had a bit of problems with the rear tyres. I'm not too sure about Citroen. I think that car probably also had some issues with the rear tyres around here. As any car that's going to wear the rear tyres out will struggle a little bit on tyre wear at this combination. The FR cars had the vice versa problem of they didn't really have much issue with the rear tyre wear, but the front tyres did tend to cause an understeer in the faster corners. So different sections of the track suited different cars here, and this is a track that actually seemed to be pretty good on BOP. As we go into the braking zone, we've got the Viper on the outside. He's going to try and go around the outside, but I think he turned in a little bit, a fraction too early there. We were on the curb and he just taps our rear car. Maybe he just tried to undercut us a little bit too early. And I think the game, I'm baffled why it gave it, but I'm pretty sure that Quentin got a penalty for that, which is really strange because, again, penalty system not always perfect. It has had some good moments in the last few weeks, but it's also had them negative moments there where Quentin did not deserve a penalty for that. It just turned in a little bit too early while we were on the curb, clipped our rear. No harm done. We didn't spin. We're still on the race. I don't see why penalties needs to be brought in, but let's ignore that and concentrate on the positives in this race as we jump on board the TV replay cameras. We've got still running that Fall Guys livery. I am going to try and find the new livery. Obviously don't play the game too much anymore. It's only for a little bit of fun, but these races were done a little bit ago, so we're going to look at changing the livery again. I think I've got one that Lightning created for us, so I might go back to that I quite like. So we'll use that one possibly in the future as we're following behind the Subaru. Pretty strong round here actually. The only thing it lacked was a bit of straight line speed, but as long as that car can stick in the slipstream, which it should be able to because it was so strong I noticed through the chicane. Most of the FIA cars on this chicane up here were really strong, whereas the McLaren was so scary on the chicane. If you hit that curb wrong, you just couldn't get on the power coming out of the corner. So it was really important to get on the throttle nice and early there. As we work our way down the main straight, you see everyone following that slipstream train as we complete that lap, and we're now starting lap 3. We're going to skip a little bit ahead now as the first 3 laps are done. Everything seems to be calming down. We're going to skip a little bit further ahead to lap 5, the start of lap 5, as we see a little bit of battling going on. If you look in the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see side-by-side action up ahead. Cars going for overtakes. I'm just going to get back on the racing line there and just see what happens in front of us as we go through these corners now, through the really fast flowing corners. And as we go through here, just keep an eye on the Citroen in front of us as he goes through. I think he clips a curb, and what you're about to witness here is total and utter
fatality.
Yeah, he's just wiped him out, and wasn't deliberate. I think it was just a mistake getting on the curb. We're going to take advantage of that. Obviously, we take 2 positions, 2 freebies there, moving us up to P6, and got a little bit lucky there, but sometimes you need a little bit of luck in these races, and we'll 100% take that. As we're now behind V1 Sam in the BMW. Again, another car that seemed pretty strong in terms of the way it handles. It's a good handling car for an FR. So I noticed that another driver driving this, the BMW, did actually in the first stop try and do a one-stop strategy. It was possible in some of the FR cars that were good on the front tyres, but if your car wasn't particularly good on tyres, then it really wasn't maybe an option. As we skip a little bit further ahead again, you can see we've kept that gap pretty static. It's staying around 1.1 seconds to the car in front. Unfortunately, again, not in the slipstream, so we couldn't really save fuel. I had to drive this race quite aggressively. I wasn't really in a position to do much in terms of saving fuel and stuff like that, so I just drove it and pushed and thought, you know what, we'll just fuel up at the end. We'll try and stay out of trouble behind us, keep away from some of the chaos that might be going on behind. As we see that BMW staying out, and that kind of confirmed, or maybe not confirmed, that he could be going for a one-stop, because you could be pitting on lap 8. I found the undercut really strong if we pitted on lap 7. You tended to gain a second and a half at least over the car in front. We saw the car behind us there, the Peugeot. I think it was about 7 tenths behind as we entered the pit lane. Now obviously the Peugeot very strong on the tyre on the rear tyres, along with the Porsche. They were able to go a little bit longer on that first stint, so it's going to be very interesting where we come out, as long as we do a nice clean lap here. You can see thankfully Jones there, you might have seen it in the mirror, gave us a little flash of the lights to say, yep, come on, you've got fresh tyres, let's get on with this. And that is great to see. You know, good racecraft. No point fighting a car that's pitted when you haven't. As we now see, where is the pit lane's gonna, everyone coming out the pits, where are they gonna come out? And we see that Sam in P1 there has decided clearly to go for a one-stop strategy, but we're just behind the Hyundai in front of us there in P5. So frustratingly, again, just a matter of a few attempts. If we would have got that exit off the chicane a little bit better before, we might have just crept into the slipstream, which could have really helped my race, because we're going to have to keep pushing. No chance to really save fuel in this position. It's going to have to be an aggressive approach to the race and try and see if we can catch up the cars in front of us. So far in this race, everything has gone pretty well. We drove smooth. We've kept it on the track. No issues. We got a little bit lucky with them 2 overtakes where they wiped each other out. And it's all going quite well. We're in P6. There's opportunities ahead. We can see as we go into the fast left-hand corner, like the fast chicane, Nick there has a massive slide. Very easily done. It only takes a little clip onto the grass into the braking zone and your car is drifting through that corner. So yeah, Nick there obviously was on fresher tyres, but he's probably took a little bit of life out of them tyres with that slide. When you slide like that, especially on the softer compound tyres. But yeah, we're now up to P5. Nick behind us. We're trying to push on to see if we can get up to Joni in front of us there in that Hyundai. But the Hyundai seemed very strong around there. Again, they BOP'd that not long ago. So that car is much stronger than it used to be. I'm not too sure what it's like on tyres though. I've never really given it a go. It would be worth trying that car out because it does seem pretty strong, especially over the curbs. He was able to really attack them. Same with most FR cars. So McLaren, a little bit more cautious on the throttle. We had to be a bit careful getting on the throttle coming out of there. But we're driving pretty solid here as we go over the line. First lap there, not bad considering we kind of got a little bit put off by the sliding vantage going through the corners. But yeah, we skip a little bit further ahead in this race, 2 lap 14, you've seen I've drove a very solid race so far. We're starting to gain a little bit on the Hyundai. I think he was saving a bit of fuel. But we've done a 43-1, 43-3, 43-3, 43-5 and a 43-4. Really consistent driving so far. We've got Nick just in the slipstream there. I think Nick behind us as well, with that mistake that he made, had decided to do a lot of fuel saving. So I think he was starting to just save the fuel and seeing if he can get a jump when it comes to the pit stop phase as we work through this really fast right-hand corner. Really strong point from McLaren. That was a corner that I was able to always gain over the FR cars, because the FR cars just couldn't get on the throttle that as early as you could in the McLaren. So like I say, it's a pretty good track this for BOP. I found that the FR cars got the advantage out of the slower chicanes and the slower corners, but the MR cars very, very strong through some of the fast flowing corners, and it equalled itself quite nicely in this race, I found. BOP Group 3 pretty solid, to be honest. As we go through that chicane again, you see again being cautious on the throttle. You see how I have to lift off the throttle. A bit of a moment on the rear there. We lose about 3 or 4 attempts there, and I think Nick behind us there is gonna, I think as we go to the right, it gives us the indication that he's just going to follow the slipstream. So yeah, that's good to see always, that we're not going to battle it out on this in lap, because if you battle, you both lose time. So sensible driving by Nick there. I think he knows that while he's in my slipstream, he probably knows I'm going to be pushing this in the McLaren, because there's not really much point of saving fuel in this car, and he can just save the fuel and take advantage of that slipstream. So let's see what we can do as we go through this in lap. This is going to be our lap before we pitted, obviously, because we pitted lap 7. 8 laps was pretty much the limit on what you could do with the McLaren for tyres. You might have been able to eke out 9 laps, but if I'm brutally honest, you're just going to lose time. Even going onto the medium tyres for the final stint, I think the fresh mediums would be much faster than doing that 9th lap on these tyres. As you see, the lap times have started to fade, although we did make that mistake. I think we lost maybe half a tenth, but even then it was looking like a 43.7, a 43.8, which is showing that the tyres are starting to fade off, even though the fuel is getting very low. You can see our fuel showing red there. We're running the fuel pretty much all the way down as we can, because this is how we found the best way to do this strategy. Was obviously second stint, use it up to the end so that your car's nice and light, and then put the fuel in for the medium tyres. So getting through these corners nice and smooth, doing a pretty okay lap on this in lap. We're driving it quite well. We're pushing, obviously, with the fact that we know we need to pit and see if we can gain any sort of time when it comes through to this pit stop phase. So just a few corners to go before we're going to pit, trying to make sure we do this nice and smooth. Again, very scary going through here, especially when your tyres are fading. Into the pit lane, let's see, we got P1 on 7% fuel, 7 litres, myself on 6 litres in the same car as he's in, so pretty doing okay with the fuel, to be honest. Not much more you could do with the McLaren. And Nick there, much more fuel, managed to save 10 litres more fuel than what I have managed to save in the McLaren. Now that is going to give him the jump. Obviously probably doing a bit of fuel saving, I think, since he made that mistake, so probably saving a bit of fuel behind myself while he had the slipstream, instead of overdriving it and battling. Sensible driving by Nick there. As we come out the pit, we're going to stay to the right and go into this corner. We're turning in, but Dilster just turned in like we wasn't there. I think a little bit of a mistake from Dilster, and he did actually pick up a penalty for the contact, but yeah, not much we could do. We were on the apex of the corner. Obviously there is no pit lane exit rule there, but we actually did keep the car, pretty much half the car, within the white line. Most people would be all the way over to the left almost, but yeah, he just turned in a little bit too early and picked up a penalty. Unfortunate for him. Don't think it was deliberate. I think he thought he was ahead going into the apex, but luckily for myself, we didn't pick up a penalty, and now we can concentrate on seeing if we can catch up some of the cars ahead. We know that V1 Sam is most likely on a strategy of one stopping this, and he's on their medium tyres. I didn't see him pit at all after that in the race, so he must be on the medium tyres, and they must be pretty warm, because he would have pitted around lap 10. So their medium tyres that he's on are going to be fading off on these last few laps, so there's going to be opportunities in this race. And also he could end up holding up some of the other drivers. Obviously Joni up there, who I think pitted a lap earlier and got the undercut. You can see that actually helped him. Maybe that could have been an option with the McLaren also. It would have been interesting if an undercut could have worked. It's a hard one when you're doing these strategies, because you don't know how much of an undercut you're going to get on the harder compound tyre. But yeah, it's a risk that seems to have paid off for Joni. He's gained a big amount of time. I also think that he'd saved a bit more fuel than what I had managed to save in the McLaren, so he's done a great job to get himself up there into P3, and he's going to be attacking P2 as we see a penalty going over the chicane for Nick there, as he takes a penalty, and you can see that's going to put him very, very close to my slipstream. But unfortunately, again, we're not in the slipstream. It's just been a story of just so close to picking up the slipstream, just not enough as we work our way through the final sector here at Catalunya. Just again, 3-4 attempts, that's all we needed to pick up the slipstream, to drag us forward, to be able to put us into the battle for another position. But looking up ahead, yeah, you see Joni making a move on Sam there, who is really starting to struggle for them rear tyres, I think, and also the front tyres in that BMW, and he puts himself up into P2, Sam down to P3, Nick there in P4, myself in P5, but there's possibly going to be opportunities on these last few laps with that BMW fading. So we're going to skip ahead to lap 19, and we see Nick is putting pressure all over Sam there in that BMW, and this is kind of helping me at the moment. At this point, we just want to try and see if we can get past Sam. I know that Nick's probably going to have the pace to outpace myself with that Vantage extremely fast car as well down the straight. He's going to go for the move into the braking zone. He manages to make that move nice and cleanly. Sam there didn't fight that too hard. I think he tactically is trying to get the slipstream of the Vantage to help him defend against myself, who he knows is probably on fresher tyres. But you can see that BMW is really struggling for them rear tyres, sliding his way through the final sector there. And this is all looking like it's going to be a pretty intense final lap of this 20-lap Catalunya GT3 Group 3 race on the FIA Gran Turismo. As we see, we're going through the final corner. Nice exit there, getting the slipstream. You can see that the BMW is in that slipstream range still, to the advantage obviously with the fact that Nick has only just overtook him, so he's going to be picking up a benefit there, and that is going to stop myself being able to go for a move into turn 1. We see no chance of going for a move, so we're going to just try and keep this nice and smooth. I know the opportunity is going to be into the tight hairpin. It's the only place that you can really go for an overtake, other than maybe this corner up here if you're close enough. But you can see I'm trying to get on the pound. It's not really going to be an opportunity to go. I have a little look down that right, just to making sure that, you know, trying to put him off a little bit, but we're not going to be able to go for that. We're a little bit too far back, and getting so close to that BMW there, onto the power as early as we can. We're both pushing, both kicking up the dust, as we're both really on it at this stage. I really wanted to get that P4 for a few extra points in this race, plus I'd driven an almost faultless race at this point for the McLaren, keeping it nice and smooth, keeping the tyres in check as we go through the really fast flowing chicane here, trying to use all the track limits there, coming out this fast corner into this really fast right-hander. This is where we need to nail this to try and make ourselves have an opportunity of going for an overtake into this braking zone. This is the final chance we've got for an overtake. We're going to fake to the right, then jink to the left, and we manage to get up on the inside into the braking zone, stopping the car just in time, rotating the car. Both of us lose control of the rear there. I think Sam nearly losing complete control of that BMW of the wear that was going on the rear tyres. His tyres were looking very, very bad, and we make that move. That was a brilliant move, I have to say. I was really proud of this move. Final lap, final few corners of the race, and look at this. We go to the left, and then we go to the right, fake it, leaves the door open a little bit there. We brake late enough, stop the car in time, onto the apex, on the power, and yeah, beautifully done, up into P4. One of the best moves I've made in this game. Really enjoyed that move, putting myself up to P4, and this was brilliant when we did it live. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, if you want to see more of these races, make sure you check out the live streams, and yeah, also make sure you let me know how you got on in your races, in your FIA races. Let me know in the comment section. I want to hear how your races went for this round in the FIA Manufacturers Championship, and I'll obviously take a read of them. But yeah, we come home in P4, a great result, thoroughly enjoyed, and we take some pretty solid points in this race. I think we came away with just under 330 points. Now I know that I think I decided not to race again after this because there was a chance of points would drop. I think we could have got a better result. Obviously starting down in P8, we lose a bit of time from the start, but the pace was there for this round, and we probably could have got a bit more points, but I decided to walk away with them 330 odd points and stick with them. So I think I did the right thing in that as well. Hope you enjoyed this round. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and hit that notification button so you don't miss any videos or live streams. Thanks again for watching, everyone.